G'day and welcome back to the Project 200 video series. One of the great challenges of touring a country like Australia is ensuring that you can carry enough fuel to cover the sometimes vast distances between refuelling points. You might think that the 200 standard 138 litre tank would be enough to do the job. But once you allow for extra consumption due to towing or terrain, there are plenty of outback tracks where there simply isn't enough capacity. The solution is a Long Ranger replacement fuel tank, which are available through ARB. They're a brilliant Australian-made product that I've had on all my four-wheel drives for the last 20 odd years, and they've never let me down. Long Ranger produced several options for the 200, but I've gone for the largest tank available, which does require the relocation of the spare wheel. It's a 180 litre replacement for the standard sub-tank, giving the vehicle a massive 273 litres of total fuel capacity, almost doubling the driving range of the standard Land Cruiser. Not only can this eliminate the need for carrying fuel in jerry cans, but it can also allow you to avoid buying fuel altogether in the most remote and expensive locations. This will save you money on every outback trip and also reduce the risk of getting a load of contaminated fuel. You can have the tank professionally installed by ARB, but today I'll be doing it myself. Please enjoy this step-by-step guide to installing the Long Ranger TR68L into a Land Cruiser 200 turbo diesel. Before you begin the installation, ensure that you've received the correct tank, that it's clean, undamaged, and that all parts are present. While you're still clean, apply the supplied information sticker to the inside back cover of the vehicle manual and highlight the correct tank model. Begin the installation by removing the spare wheel, which I've done previously. Then disconnect the three rearmost rubber exhaust mounts, beginning at the muffler just in front of the rear axle. Next, unbolt the tyre support cross member and the small brackets from each side of the chassis and remove. Then remove the small support bracket from the front cross member, and if the standard bumper is still fitted, remove the two bolts holding the right side bumper to the inner guard. You can then disconnect the fuel lines from the existing tank. Begin with the filler and fast fill breather lines on the right hand side. Then move towards the front of the tank and disconnect the two 6mm breathers, three fuel supply lines and the fast fill breather. Disconnect all hoses from the end connected to the metal pipes rather than from the tank end. Ensure that the factory colour coding is visible or remark if required. You can then remove the straps and lower the factory sub-tank out of position, disconnecting the sender wiring as you lower the tank. Set the tank aside and refit the four mounting bolts to seal the holes. Using the new supplied fuel line and existing hose clamps, loop the two right side steel fuel pipes together. Then fit the other new supplied fuel line and an existing clamp to the left side fuel pipe and let it hang over the cross member. Ensuring that you've sealed any open fuel lines, you can then cut the three tank support brackets off the floor ribs and then the rear tyre support bracket off the rear cross member. Paint over all your cuts to prevent rust. Run the sender wire along the floor rib using existing clips to attach to available mounting holes. Leave as much length as possible on the plug end. Move back to the old tank and clean around the sender unit, then remove it. You can then unclip the float arm and replace it with the longer arm supplied with the tank. Using the original screws, fit the sender to the new tank with the float arm facing towards the rear, checking to ensure it doesn't foul on any internal tank components. Apply some sealant to the supplied brass elbow and fit it into the threaded hole on the front of the new tank, leaving the barbed end horizontal and pointing towards the centre of the tank. Remove the two 6mm breather lines from the original tank and connect them to the new tank using the original spring clamps, ensuring that you keep the colour coding and positioning the same. Remove the fast fill breather from the original tank, then trim it to 160mm before fitting it to the new tank using the original spring clamp. You can now lift the new tank carefully into position. Keeping the left side bracket below the chassis will make it easier. As you lift, reconnect the plug to the sender unit on the top of the tank. With the tank in position, loosely fit the supplied bolts, washers and spring washers to the brackets on each side and the front of the tank. Check for clearance all round, then fully tighten all the bolts. You can then refit the rubber exhaust mounts, starting at the rear of the vehicle and moving forward. It's now time to refer to the supplied plumbing diagram and connect the fuel and breather lines. Begin by connecting the two 6mm breathers to the steel pipes under the floor, ensuring that you connect the right-hand hose to the right-hand fitting and vice versa. Secure with the original spring clamps. Next, connect the fast fill breather using the original hose clamp. Use the original plastic bracket to secure all the fuel and breather lines in place. You can then connect the new 8mm fuel hose to the pickup on the front of the new tank and secure with the supplied hose clamp. Shorten the tank end of the original filler hose by 60mm, then attach it to the new tank and the filler neck using the original hose clamps. I found this was also the easiest time to attach both ends of the fast fill breather to the filler neck pipe and then to the barbed fitting at the rear of the tank. Again, secure with the original hose clamps. You should then double check all hose clamps and fittings before you take out a small loan so you can fill up the tank and inspect all the fittings for leaks. If you have an ultra gauge, you also need to input the new fuel capacity so the distance to empty function still works. Unfortunately, there's no way to update the factory trip computer on the VX and Sahara models to reflect the larger fuel capacity. I hope you enjoyed the installation of the Long Ranger fuel tank into the 200. As usual, there's plenty more information on the Project 200 website. See you next time.